Hey everyone, it's Roxy Horror again. I am here to do the Day of the Dead remake review. So as always, I'm going to start this off by saying that this review has spoilers. So if you haven't seen the remake, which you definitely should see the remake, it's incredible. But if you haven't seen it, stop this film now, go watch it, and then come back. Okay, moving forward with the review. We are going to start this review with comparisons to the original Dawn of the Dead. So I love the practical effects upgrade here. There was a lot more that they did with the zombies and how they looked, even intestines being pulled out. It just looked so real, much more than what they had to work with the original. So I mean, I just had to throw appreciation into the upgrade and practical effects. The plot difference I loved when they're centered around a bunch of different characters from different backgrounds, instead of being centered around a cop and his wife and another cop. You know, it's just a bunch of different people working together eventually. But I loved that they changed the focus on a female protagonist. The nurse, she's awesome. I love her character and the development that happens there with her, which I think it was just in general, from the original, it was just a more polished story. The original was kind of jumbled. I hated when the rebels came in and started, circling around the mall and just going crazy and killing zombies. And it's like, I get what they were going for, but they didn't do it in the right way. So I just had to I wasn't really down for what they did in the plot line and then zombies coming in and killing everybody. I mean, I get it, but the plot wasn't really, it was harder to follow. We'll just put it that way. I also appreciated that because there were so many different backgrounds of people in this film, they really focused on this power dynamic between these people, these different groups, and who they were friends with and who they aligned with, who were their allies, who they didn't trust. There was a lot of this power dynamic, and it really helped fuel the character development in the movie. So this was stuff that didn't really exist in the original, and I think it was brought in here and really just explored fantastically in a way that you really were rooting for these characters, because you got more of an in-depth look at who they were, and you wanted to see more of a development in some of them. Like others, you were just like, okay, when is this person gonna be offed and whatever. But for the majority of these characters, you were just kind of like, oh wow, this is where that's going, and oh, I can see where these characters would decide to do this in a certain way. So it was definitely a better look at the scenario than the original. Also, in the original, they brought up topics like abortion and stuff like that, whereas in this one, I think they kind of kept it clean from those kind of controversial topics. And they more so looked at it in a different way, as in, hey, we're a family, are you going to, destroy our family? And this happened with many different characters, like the father that got bit, and his daughter, like, they had to kill him because he got bit. And then with the pregnant mother and her boyfriend, like, he was still alive, but she got bit, and then she died, and so did the baby. So he was just like, are you gonna destroy my family? Is all of this gonna, you know what I mean? Like, the topics were brought up in a different way. Whereas in the first movie, they were brought up as a side thought. It's like the guy was just like, hey, if you want to get an abortion, I know how to perform it. And then it was just never brought up again. Maybe it was in like a different scene, but it was just weird. So I kind of moved away from that. They kind of moved away from that and kind of brought up this contemplation of family and like, what would you do in a real life scenario if if your wife, husband, father, son, whoever was bitten by a zombie and died? What would you do? So I just kind of like the way that they went into all of that and kind of focused on those topics. So the things that I liked about this movie, which I stated a lot of them already, I love the strong woman aspect. Yet again, there's a lot of strong women in this movie, and some of them, just like the remake of The Night of the Living Dead, I feel like in this movie they get killed by men's stupidity. The one guy loses control of a chainsaw and kills off Nicole. And the wife, the pregnant mother, I feel like she got bit because she was fighting one, and all of that. And then Anna, oh my gosh, she was strong from the beginning. And then it just kept going as her character developed. Now, the one thing I can say is that the beginning of this movie is my favorite part of the entire movie. And this is just because, the whole sequence is just jarring, right? She comes home from work, she's tired, but her and her husband, get together, have a date night, more like a Netflix and chill. But anyway, so they, wake up in the morning, and their neighbor girl is zombified, and she kills the husband, and then he comes after her, Anna, and she jumps out the window. She gets in her car. I mean, it's just insane from the moment the zombified girl goes after her husband, and it just keeps going. Like, she's looking around her neighborhood, she sees people getting hit by cars, she sees like fires and people running after their loved ones. Someone comes up and tries to get into her car because she's being chased. I mean, it is wild. And that just it's one of the best scenes in movies for a lot of people, and I am definitely one of them. I love how it is a real look at human nature during a crisis. All of these characters have their faults, and in the beginning they really come out, but they develop into they develop into a camaraderie, for most of them at least. Some of them not so much, but I mean, it's just a look at different people doing what different people would do during a crisis. So I really enjoyed that. There were a lot of zombie transformations, which I really liked how they did it, but they showed it happening, and like how the people become zombified, and then what they look like during the change. Like, it was just really cool, and I appreciated that. There was one zombie that I didn't really like, and that'll come in later, but for the most part, I really, really enjoyed it. I love the humor aspect. Bring humor into a horror movie, I'm gonna like it even more. Shaun of the Dead, definitely a great one. But like, they had that aspect when they're, you know, raising the boards on the roof, and, you know, they're just trying to have fun, play games, whatever, trying to get their mind off of what is happening in this world. And the humor aspect really comes in, and just kind of, you know, you kind of have to, in movies like this, kind of like lighten the mood just a little bit, because there is so much dread and just sorrow happening. So yeah, I really appreciated that. Oh my god, the practical effects, so good, as I was saying before. I mean, they're so realistic, and it was very well done. The final sequence was so good, and I really appreciated it when they're so it basically starts off with, you know, Steve's antics on the boat before the crew comes in and you know, takes over. I mean, Steve died, so he's not on the boat, but his antics before, and how he was just like sexualizing women and all that stuff, which he was a terrible character, but he died. And so then it goes into them finding the camera and, like, you know, messing around with it on the boat, and then they land on the island in the middle of Lake Michigan, and there's zombies on the island. So they get attacked by zombies. So, like, basically no one survives this movie, which I really, really enjoy. There's not a lot of horror movies out there that don't have, like, you know, a final girl or some shit like that. Like, this movie really went for it, and it delivered, and I really enjoyed that aspect. I loved CJ's character development. He went from someone who was just looking out for himself. He was so selfish in the beginning, and then he basically became a little more lighthearted throughout the film, where his decision made sense at the end. And I love how bringing back in the humor, like at the end, right before he dies, he's like, fucking figures, like, and he, like, you know, blows up the truck and survives. But, you know, his character development, I mean, he went from being the most selfish person in the building to killing himself to help others survive. And, like, I just really appreciated that character development, because a lot of movies don't have that, and then you're, like, rooting for this guy to die, and then you know, finally he does. But, like, in this scenario, it wasn't like that, which I really appreciated. It was more like, I mean, you did kind of laugh because you got a little humor before it happened, but, like, you really didn't want him to at the end of the day. Like, I appreciated that. Now I'm gonna go into what I disliked about this movie. Oh my god, the pregnancy scene and the baby. I mean, we could have done without that whole thing. She died, and then like the stomach was like growing the whole time, which I guess the baby was dead inside during this whole thing. And he was basically like eating her insides, which is what it seemed like. Or the baby got infected through her blood, which also makes sense. Whatever happened there, didn't like it. I appreciated the what they did, but I just didn't. I appreciated the idea, the thought, but I just didn't like the execution. Oh my god, when they finally pulled back the covers and you see the baby, I mean, come on, man, that CGI is fucking ridiculous, and it was just poorly done. It could have been so much better. So that was a big demerit for me. It took me out of the scene, and then I was just like, okay, well, this went in a place that I didn't really appreciate. Gosh, just the nurse, I did appreciate that, and that goes into the strong woman aspect. The nurse standing up for what she believed in and being like, well, you know, these people are the zombie baby, like how the fuck is that thing gonna survive? So, you know, she had to kill the mom, and then when she did that, the dad started shooting at her, so she had to kill him. So I did appreciate the strong woman aspect in that scene. The CGI really took me out of it. And then, I don't know. That's really the bad part of that whole scenario. And then I think they both died for what they believed in. And I can understand that scenario. I just couldn't get down with the wife and the baby. Yeah. Anyway, moving on from that. I didn't understand why the zombies wouldn't go after animals. I feel like zombies go after everything. So that, I get why they did it in a way, because, you know, usually dogs would be the first thing to go in every horror movie. So I get it, but I'm also like, I mean, why do that? So that just took me out of it too. I was like, the zombies would go after everything. I mean, I've seen different zombie movies, and like they always go after whatever's in front of them that has some sort of brain matter. So that just kind of took me out of it a little bit. And then I really hated the romance between Anna and Michael. I couldn't get down with it at all. I was pissed because her husband literally died less than, 24 hours. And you're already having a romantic connection with another person. And not to mention, he died in a horrific manner. Did you not love him before? Like, what is going on in your head? No. I could not get down with that. That was like, I was so mad about that. I could not get over it. I just think that if you're gonna do a romantic relationship, make it between two other characters that are less, prominent. Like her whole thing was like, now she's supposed to be this independent person and trying to get through life after something incredibly horrific happened right in her neighborhood. And I just couldn't get down with the fact that her husband, or that she moved on less than like 24 hours after her husband was killed. It's just, yeah. Anyway, I overall loved this movie. It is definitely going to be one of my favorites that I watched this month. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. And yeah, it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, go out and watch it. And yeah, the next movie that I'll be doing a review on is Zombie on the 6th. So I'll see you then. Stay spooky.